right, so episode 55. So within the last year, I have come across this author named Ryan Holiday, and Ryan has written books like The Daily Stoic, Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, Stillness is the Key, and many more. And on top of that, he's also a well-known podcaster, and he's most notably known for promoting the Stoic philosophy. Personally, I love all of his books. I think Stillness is the Key is probably one of my favorite books of all time, definitely in the top 3. And he's the only author that I've religiously read a lot of their work. They're just very insightful, they're quick, they're entertaining, just very meaningful reads. And most of them are focusing on the cardinal virtues of Stoicism. And I swear, in every single book, he brings up this old Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. He often shares stories about old historical figures that have made a difference in history, but you could always count on one or two Marcus stories in every single book that Ryan has written. This guy worships Marcus Aurelius over anyone else in history. And Ryan Holiday often quotes from a book of Marcus's thoughts called Meditations. And Meditations is a series of his personal journal entries and private notes on Stoic philosophy, which is it's kind of fucked up when you think about it, right? People are reading your journal entries 1,800 years later. That's just not fair to this guy. But it's adding a little spice to your life when you're reading. You're not supposed to be reading this, so adds a little excitement. These notes are divided into 12 books from different periods of his life, and basically each individual thought or verse is numbered in this book. So similar to a Bible structure, I'd say. And finally, after months and months of putting this off, I have listened to Meditations, and I have a lot to report back. But I've been really putting it off because, one, it's a translation from a guy in AD 160. How relatable can these thoughts really be? And then, two, it's not easy to sit down and get in the mental space where you're really just trying to take in all of this information. And each one of these little verses or notes just holds so much weight, and you're trying to just process each one. But I did it. I finally did it. And before I started, I remembered Ryan Holiday saying that this is the type of book that you reread once a year, because it's just filled with so much wisdom that each time you read, you're going to get something new out of it because you're embarking on a new period in your life. So now, after my first read, almost 30 years old, I'm going to give a little book report on my 10 favorite verses for Meditations. But before I do that, I think it's only fair that I give you a little background on good old Marcus so you can understand him a little better, see what he really went through in his life. So to start out, Marcus's father died when he was 3 years old, and he was raised by his grandfather. And then later, he was raised by his uncle and Roman emperor, Antonius, who would eventually adopt him and make him his heir. And when he dies, Marcus becomes emperor, and he anoints his adopted brother Lucius co-emperor. Now, I think his brother lives only 8 more years, and then Marcus rules for an additional 10 years on top of that until he later dies. But within this time, Marcus holds the Roman Empire together through a pandemic, and then multiple wars. He also had 14 children, and 9 of them died shortly after birth. And the one that actually succeeded him, his name is Commodus. He was a fucking nightmare. His kingdom was just overrun with tyranny and corruption. So that definitely kind of sucks for Marcus. I guess he was too busy just writing out his own thoughts. But that's really all you need to know, I guess, a little gist about Marcus. Overall, he was one of the most respected and highly regarded Roman emperors of all time. Now that you know all that, let's dive into meditation. So as I'm listening to this audiobook, I'm taking note of specific verses that I connect to, right? Just things that really resonate with me right now. From there, I researched the meanings a little deeper and narrowed it down to my top 10. But luckily for you, I didn't stop there. I put each one of these 10 verses into ChatGPT and had it paraphrase from the point of view of a Gen Z kid. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Why did I do this? There's already numerous translations of the book, so What's one more? And why not have a little fun with it? Why not make it something that you can, understand a little better? So today I'm reading Marcus Aurelius Meditations, Gen Z edition. And since there are 12 books, I'll just go in order from the beginning. And if you're watching this episode on Spotify or YouTube, I'll see if I'm tech savvy enough to kind of put up the original quote from the book, just so that you can get some context as well and pause it and read it if you want to. So here we go. Number 1, book 3, verse 4. Bro, stop stressing about other people unless it's going to make the world a better place. It just messes with your vibe and stops you from doing dope stuff. Don't get caught up in everyone else's drama, what they're posting, saying, or thinking. Focus on your own hustle. Train your mind to filter out the BS, selfish thoughts, drama, all that noise. Be real about what's on your mind so people know you're not shady. Be like, that's what I'm about, and own it. Stay chill and focused, not tripping over what others think or do. Do your own thing and trust that it'll work out. Remember, we're all in this together, so show some love. But that doesn't mean you gotta agree with everyone. Only vibe with those who keep it real. Forget chasing validation from people who can't even keep it together themselves. Number 2, book 5, verse 1. When you're struggling to get out of bed, remind yourself you're here to live your best life. Why moan about it when you're meant to do what you're born to do? Were you just born to stay cozy under the covers? But it feels so comfy. So is life all about feeling comfy? What about living it up and experiencing everything? Look at nature doing its thing. Birds, ants, plants, they're hustling to keep things in order. And you're not up for doing your part as a human? Why aren't you pumped to fulfill your natural role? But we need to sleep. Yeah, but nature sets limits on that. Just like eating and drinking. And you've hit your limit. You've snoozed enough, but you're still slacking on what you're supposed to do. You don't value yourself. If you did, you'd respect your nature and what it demands of you. People who love what they do dive headfirst into it, forgetting about basic needs like eating or showering. Do you respect yourself less than a TikToker respects their clout, a gamer their high score, a gym rat their gains? When they're really into it, they'd rather skip meals and sleep than stop grinding. Is helping others not worth your hustle? Number 3, book 6, verse 26. If someone asks you to write your name, would you get annoyed and spell it out like Ugh, John? If they started flipping out, would you freak out too? Or would you just calmly spell it out like it's no big deal? Your task can be broken down into smaller chunks too. Focus on each part and finish them one by one. No need to get all worked up and fire back with anger. Number 4, book 7, verse 3. All the hype with parades, catchy tunes, crowds everywhere, military stuff. It's like giving treats to spoiled pets or feeding fish in a tank. All those ants hustling, mice freaking out, puppets dancing, it's all just part of the scene. With all this going on, we gotta vibe with it without judging. But also remember, our real worth comes from what we put our energy into. Number 5, this is book 7, verse 67. Nature didn't make everything so complicated that you can't set your own boundaries or take charge of your own happiness. You can be a good person without needing anyone else's approval. Remember that. And hey, you don't need tons of stuff to be happy. Even if you ditch your dreams on becoming some big shot genius, don't give up on finding freedom, staying humble, lending a hand, or doing what you believe in. This is number 6, book 8, verse 41. For living things, harmful means anything messing with their senses or stopping them from doing their own thing. The same goes for plants. If something blocks their growth, it's bad news. And for us humans, anything messing with our thoughts is a no-go. Think about it for yourself. Are you letting pain and pleasure control you? Let your senses handle that. Are there things getting in the way of what you want to do? If you didn't think about it beforehand, that's going to mess you up as a thinking person. But if you use your brain, you're good to go. Nothing can mess with your thoughts. Not even fire or metal, not even haters or tough times, nothing. As long as your mind is calm and focused. Number 7, book 9, verse 30. Look at things from a big picture perspective. All the animal packs, ceremonies, wild adventures on the ocean. The different ways we come into the world, connect, and then bounce. Think about the lives before us, the ones coming after, and the ones going on right now in distant places. Lots of people don't even know your name, and many who do will forget. Some hype you up now, but might throw shade later. Being remembered isn't such a big deal. It's like being famous, like everything else. Number 8, book 10, verse 3. Everything that goes down is either something you can deal with or something you can't. If you can deal with it, then deal with it. Stop moaning about it. If you can't deal with it, well, still, no need to moan. Your end will be the end of it all too. Just remember, you can handle anything your mind sees as handleable by seeing it as something you want to deal with, something that vibes with you or with your style. Number 9, this is book 10, verse 31. To preface this one, there are some like past emperors, so please bear with me as I try to pronounce their names. When you see Satyron, think of Socraticus or Atticus or Hymen. When you see Euphrates, think of Eutychion or Silvanus. With Alciphron, think of Tropiophorus. When you see Xenophon, think of Crito or Severus. When you see yourself, think of any of the emperors, and do the same with everyone else. Then ask yourself, where are they now? Nowhere or everywhere? That way you'll get life for what it is really, quick, no big deal. Especially when you remember that once stuff changes, it's gone forever in the endless future. So why stress? Just doing your own thing in this short life, isn't that enough? The stuff you're missing, the chances you let slip, what's it all but practice? Getting ready for your journey in life, seen clearly, like scientifically. So keep grinding until it's all soaked in. Like a tough stomach taking in whatever it's fed, like a blazing fire devouring whatever you toss on it, turning it into light and heat. And finally, big reveal. This one's number 10, book 12, verse 4. It's crazy, right? We're all about loving ourselves, but we care way too much about what others think. Imagine if some wise God came down and said we couldn't keep anything to ourselves. We'd be done for. That's how hooked we're on other people's opinions instead of our own. So, all right, those are the top 10 in Gen Z edition of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. So this guy covered it all, right? Like show gratitude, embody your ideas, and protect your character, reject other people's opinions. But in my mind, most importantly, it's you're here for just this microscopic amount of time, and all the trivial bullshit like that you put up with is meaningless, right? It doesn't really matter. All you should do is pursue truth and happiness and work hard on yourself and do what you can for your community around you. And that's basically what his main message is all about, which I like. Now, I have a lot of traveling coming up, so I'm probably going to be listening to this at least a few more times within the next few weeks, but I highly recommend giving it a listen or read just to see if you kind of resonate with any of the dozens of verses in there. I listened to Gregory Hayes' version on Spotify. I heard that one was kind of the easiest one to read, so give that a shot, unless you just wanted me to do the whole Gen Z version. That would be fun too. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you had a good week. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And with that, yeah, I'll talk to you later.